Luo Feng first used the god country of his undyings to teleport to a desolate region of the universe and began to wander. The universe was resplendent and mysterious. Luo Feng had once seen a planet completely made of platinum. Luo Feng had once discovered the peculiar sight of the 108 stars intertwining, and even went to each of the 108 stars for a tour. Luo Feng had once gone to a neutron star to sleep. Even relying on his sensitivity to space, he discovered a treasure left behind by an undying. Of course, to Luo Feng he didn't really care. He had even gone to explore black holes. However, the deeper he went, the stronger the tearing force. Even the Masha Undying's body couldn't withstand the powerful tearing force. The surrounding space ripples were completely destroyed, he couldn't even teleport away. Luckily he relied on his natural ability domain to teleport time and time again, barely escaping from the core region of the black hole. On a whim, Luo Feng might lie on a meteorite and wander around the universe. Of course, Luo Feng had also secretly wandered around the different races. The Masha clansmen only needed to transform into a different race's appearance and energy to blend in. Luo Feng was like a passerby, watching the emotions of the different races, watching the living environment of the different races. As he wandered the universe, Luo Feng would occasionally gain some insights. The 30,000 years of training before didn't raise his willpower much, however the time he spent wandering the universe caused his willpower to evolve. The past in my eyes was just a battle. Slaughter. Become a stronger warrior. However, there are many more beautiful things in the universe. The culture of the different races, even though they are different from humanity's, they still have their own specialties. The culture that has been passed down for countless years, every culture of the different races is worth studying. Every time I experience a culture, it's a cleansing of my heart. Half of LuoFeng's consciousness was feeling the wonders of the universe, the other half was training. Under such circumstances, his efficiency had greatly increased. In the past, he was purely calculating, occasionally studying the beast god statue to gain some inspiration. And now, Luo Feng realized that everywhere in the universe, like the birth, growth and destruction of stars, they all contain the universe origin laws. A blade of grass, a ferocious beast, a river, they all contain the universe origin laws. For example, the operation of the living environment system of a habitable planet was a miniature version of the operation of the entire universe. From time to time, inspiration would surge forth like a spring, breaking through layer by layer. Even when he was trapped in front of an opponent, Luo Feng wasn't anxious at all. After drifting in the universe for a long time, Luo Feng's state of mind gradually became one with the universe. Just like the vast universe, unknowingly the opponent that was bothering him would be defeated. In a remote region of the universe, near the territory of one of the 6 peak races, the Prison Clan on a life planet. At this moment, this vital planet was plunged into a catastrophe. Haha, you worms, obediently submit to His Majesty the Great Shadow King. From today onwards, this planet will be part of the Shadow King's territory. You worms must listen to His Majesty the Great Shadow King's orders. Anyone who disobeys, will be killed. Kill. Kill. In the outer space of this planet, there was a giant creature with 18 claws that were more than 300 meters long. Its body was covered in layers of scales, and its head was like a metal skull. There was a faint golden flame in its eyes, and a monstrous divine power spread out, engulfing the entire planet. The entire planet was under his pressure. There were more than 10 races living on the planet. Shadow King. The Shadow King's territory has actually pushed into our territory. The team leader they sent over is that despicable undying Yutuawa. Despicable Yutuawa. There were millions of life forms living on the planet. However, the weakest were Star Traveler level. There were even tens of Sector Lord level life forms. And Masha Luo Feng had become a Sector Lord alien mixed in with them. Interesting. Masha Luo Feng looked up at the sky. With a glance, he saw the undying in the sky. The Prison Clan is indeed a special race. Not only do they not stop their subordinate races from killing each other, they actually encourage it from the shadows. Bloodshed and slaughter everywhere, countless lives have fallen. During these tens of thousands of years of wandering in the universe, Luo Feng had purposely wandered around the Crystal Race and Prison Race territory, studying these 2 races. The universe's 6 peak races, automaton, bug, human and demon, all lived close to each other. As for the Crystal Race and Prison Race, they lived far away. According to Luo Feng's wanderings, entering planet after planet, he had a detailed understanding of these 2 pinnacle races, discovering their specialties. The Prison Race and Crystal Race belonged to the 2 extreme races. The Prison Race referred to the life forms that were born in the universe's dangerous prison. Whether it was a stone life form, energy life form, flesh and blood life form, etc., as long as they were born in the dangerous prison, they were all from the Prison Race. The Prison Race treated their subordinate races very casually, and secretly encouraged them from the shadows, causing these races to instigate bloodshed and slaughter within themselves. Some races even had their entire race annihilated. However, these bloodshed and slaughter gave birth to some absolute warriors. These absolute warriors would be absorbed by the Prison Race. The Crystal Race was the complete opposite. The Crystal Race was the same life form and they were extremely united. In terms of unity, they were even stronger than the Automaton Race. Especially when the Crystal Race warriors teamed up, their strength would multiply by many times. The Prison Race were individually strong. The Crystal Race were collectively strong. The 2 completely different races had always fought intensely with each other. Just like the human, automaton, demon and bug races, because of their proximity to each other, they fought time and time again. And the prison race and crystal race simply hated each other's races. As though they were born to be incompatible, the universe gave birth to two completely different races, hence they fought time and time again. The planet was in chaos. Demon killer Luo Feng watched silently. He had already been in the territories around the prison race, watching many planets being conquered. He was like a bystander watching everything before quietly leaving. The Shadow Emperor's planet, all the Titan race, execute them all. In space, the undying Yutuawa's voice resounded throughout the entire planet. Kill all the Titan race. Kill. Immediately, the Sector Lord warriors under his command began to wreak havoc on the planet. There were over 10 races on this planet, the Titan race was just one of them. The other races had all submitted, the Titan race had gone completely mad. Shadow Emperor, he's a demon, he destroyed our home and has been chasing us, let's fight it out with them. Kill these bastards. Kill. Children, quickly flee. You take the children, this is the future of our Titan race, quickly flee with them. There were over 100,000 Titan race members on the planet, some were fleeing, some were madly fighting. However, when the first batch of Titan race members who tried to flee in the universe ship were wiped out by the undying Yutuawa with his god energy, the rest of the Titan race were in despair. The difference in strength between them and the undying was too huge. Fight it out. The other races on the planet didn't even interfere, watching as the Titan race went mad. However, the Titan race only had 6 Sector Lords, while the other team had a total of 100 Sector Lord warriors, and the leader was an undying. This was a completely different level of strength. This Titan race is finished. Luo Feng watched quietly. In the universe such things happened every minute. Luo Feng was shocked as he looked at the distant silhouette. That was the most dazzling silhouette of the Tiger clan. A tiger youth had already killed 2 Sector Lord warriors, and now he was being surrounded by 10 Sector Lord warriors, and they were actually evenly matched. Pana, quickly flee. Many Titan race members were calling out. Obviously this Titan youth had a lot of authority just from his strength. He was probably the leader of the 100,000 Titan race members. Haha, so the Titan race genius Pana is here. His Majesty Shadow Emperor has placed a huge bounty on your head. The undying Yutuawa swiftly swooped down. In an instant he was in the air above the tiger race youth. Quickly leave. The Titan youth ordered. Yes. While Yutuawa was dealing with Pana, the other Titan race members immediately took the ships and fled. Yutuawa didn't seem to care about anything else. Pana's value was much higher than the remaining members. Come Yutuawa. Pana's eyes had a sense of madness in them and also a sense of satisfaction. He was already prepared to die. My death alone will save over 10,000 of my race, that's enough. Idiot. Yutuawa laughed, immediately attacking. Demon killer Luo Feng watched on silently. He suddenly felt that the gaze of the Horned Titan youth was very similar to the ones that fought the Golden Horn Beast with him back then. Jai Mo Henderson, Tripathi Singh, Sokolov, Eastbourne, the Star Traveler level warriors of Earth. That kind of despair and determination to die. It's time to return. Demon killer Luo Feng said softly. Pana felt powerless. Before Yutuawa he had no strength to resist at all. When Yutuawa's ugly claws clawed at him he knew he would definitely die. Suddenly, it rained. The beautiful rain filled the sky. Rain? Pana was stunned, following which the rain that filled the sky and land all vanished. The Sector Lord warriors and Yutuawa in the distance all froze, following which Chi Yutuawa's body seemed to vanish into thin air, and the 10 Sector Lord warriors in the distance immediately exploded, becoming a ground of blood and flesh. Dead. Pana stared blankly at everything, looking at the distant ground full of blood and corpses, looking at the weapons and armor Yutuawa left behind. Clang. The distant alien silhouette sheathed the blade on his back. Blade, right, that rain before was blade light. Pana was immediately certain, however he couldn't believe that the blade technique could be that strong, and the distant alien silhouette was only a Sector Lord. A Sector Lord could kill an undying so easily? Demon killer Luo Feng turned and glanced at him, smiling, after which he took a step and vanished. Seeing the Titan youth's gaze, Luo Feng's memories were triggered. He wanted to attack, hence he did. To Luo Feng it didn't matter if he attacked or not. It was just a thought. And this planet was Luo Feng's last stop in the universe. Because, half a month before this last stop, Luo Feng had already created the 3rd level of the ultimate technique. It's time to break through to undying. Demon killer Luo Feng had finally returned to the Primal region after wandering for 50,000 years. Human territory Primal region, Thousand Treasure River region. Wandering in the universe he was after all a wanderer. And when he returned to the human territory he naturally felt a sense of belonging. He had returned home. This is home. After sitting crossed-legged in the palace for over 80,000 years, his earth body finally got up and walked out of the palace. For the first time he began to walk around the palaces of Thousand Treasure River. Walking around the palaces, looking at everything, Luo Feng's mind was recalling the scenes of him wandering in the universe. Back then, those events had shocked him greatly, however now that he looked back, everything was so clear, almost as though many things were in his heart. As he walked, he thought back to everything he had experienced in these 50,000 years. Look, it's Luo Feng. Luo Feng actually walked out of his palace, how rare. This Luo Feng back then was able to kill an emperor-level pinnacle. Just like that, he disappeared for over 80,000 years, and there's no news of him breaking through to undying. With his ability he should have broken through long ago. Why did he stay in the Sector Lord level for so long? Studying the space laws, he has an advantage in the sector lord level. He definitely received the recognition of the space laws long ago. Even after becoming undying, studying the space laws wouldn't be any slower. Who knows what Luo Feng is thinking? He's an absolute genius. A few of the servants in the palaces saw Luo Feng from afar. They too communicated and discussed. They didn't dare say anything directly, after all they were only servants. And Luo Feng was the master of this space, the Primal Chaos City Leader's direct disciple. Luo Feng walked over. Lord Luo Feng. A group of servants bowed respectfully. Luo Feng glanced at them and smiled. After experiencing so much in the universe, he could tell what these servants were thinking with a glance. Obviously his disappearance for 80,000 years had caused quite a bit of criticism. However, even though he knew these servants were secretly gossiping about him, Luo Feng still smiled. Because he felt that he could see through their hearts, the reason why they thought that way. Even some of the mysteries of the universe's workings made Luo Feng happy, hence he smiled. Even though they are undying, it's fine to bend over for a while. However, being servants for trillions of years, it has already affected their hearts. Even after so many years, it would still be hard for them to step into the universe night level. Luo Feng thought to himself. After which he continued walking. Like a movie, the scenes of his wandering years continued to play. Within the main hall of the Thousand Treasure River domain. The Primal Chaos City Leader also sensed that Luo Feng, who had been silent for 80,000 years, had actually walked out of the palace. He couldn't help but open his eyes and look over. His gaze pierced through the obstructions of the buildings and saw the walking Luo Feng. Luo Feng smiled as he walked. It was a smile that came from deep within his heart, a smile that came naturally from his happiness. Primal Chaos City Master revealed a look of shock. He is transforming? The Primal Chaos City Leader could tell with a glance that at this time, LuoFeng's 50,000 years of wandering in the universe had all exploded out at once. As the saying goes, good preparation leads to success. It was just like how many researchers had studied countless materials and finally had an epiphany one day. All the profound mysteries of the materials had fused into one and existed in one's heart. Luo Feng was like that. What he had seen and experienced in 50,000 years was simply too much. And at this time, from Luo Feng's point of view, everything followed the laws of the universe. The transformation of the soul. The Primal Chaos City Master sighed softly. In terms of mental state, this disciple of mine is indeed amazing. After wandering in the universe for 50,000 years, he had only walked for 5 hours in Thousand Treasure River and completely recalled everything. When he recalled the time when he saved the Tiger Clan youth at the last stop, Luo Feng finally laughed out loud. In these 5 hours, his mental state had been constantly improving by leaps and bounds. Especially when he recalled everything perfectly, it caused his mental state to rise to an extremely high level. There was no need to strengthen his heart, as his heart was naturally like the vast starry sky, unshakable. There was no need to resist the illusions as compared to the real universe, they couldn't even withstand a single blow. At this time, even the Primal Chaos City Leader couldn't see clearly just from the surface just how far LuoFeng's willpower had risen. He had experienced fighting for his family and brother when he was young, sacrificing everything to kill the golden horned beast when he was on Earth with the other warriors of Earth, yet coming back from the dead, and experiencing the chaos of the genius battles, and also the final obsession of the life and death inheritances, and finally seeing the endless mysteries of the universe after 50,000 years. In terms of willpower, he probably wouldn't lose out to the tyrants of the universe. Only the Universe Lord's willpower could surpass LuoFeng's. Enough. Time to break through to undying. Luo Feng wasn't excited, however he naturally believed that it was time to break through. Walking back to the palace, Luo Feng sat crossed-legged. His mental state was like the vast starry sky without any ripples. Within the core within his body, the origin pearl-formed Luo Feng opened his eyes. Break through the shackles and become undying. The human form Luo Feng's eyes suddenly emitted a willpower that shot up into the sky, a sharp and unstoppable willpower. From the calm like the starry sky ocean before, to an unstoppable like a huge blade, it was a complete change. Luo Feng waved his hand. The 16,000 crystal beads floated in the air. These tens of thousands of crystal beads were covered in dense and mysterious runes of laws. The 16,000 crystal beads rapidly floated in the air and connected with each other, forming the skeleton of the entire beast god. As the countless threads of laws connected with each other, a huge beast god was born out of thin air. The beast god's tyrannical aura emanated. Starfire pierces through the sky, jade burns the heavens and shatters the earth. Luo Feng said softly. Rumble. The beast god in mid-air moved, bringing with it a crazed determination to destroy everything. Immediately, its surface seemed to ignite with starfire. The beast god within the starfire caused the core to tremble. Luo Feng's extremely sharp willpower, along with the 80,000 years of training of the beast god, infused it completely, causing the beast god to bring with it an unshakable might. Immediately smashing into the inner walls of the core, the beast god's body immediately had countless cracks, almost as though it was about to crumble. Indiscriminate destruction. Heaven and earth shattered. Rumble. The entire inner walls of the core shook violently, following with a pung, it immediately turned into powder. 10,000 star Taoist diagrams third form. Starfire pierces through the sky, jade burns the heavens and shatters the earth. 80,000 years, the 10,000 star Taoist diagrams third form was completed. First form lightning dashing stars, starlight like silk covering the universe. Fast and agile like countless raindrops, continuous and unending. Second form, bright like the sun and stars, rainbow like a blade ripping the night sky. Just one word was fast, everything was for the sake of being fast. Unlike the first form which could continuously attack over 10 million times, the moment this move was unleashed, it would only be that once. However, its speed was already unbelievably fast, its power incomparably strong too. Third form, starfire pierces through the sky, jade burns the heavens and shatters the earth. The most important thing was the power. The speed wasn't as fast as the second form, however its power was more than 10 times stronger. If the second form relied on its tail, then the third form relied on the beast god's entire body, an absolutely tyrannical attack that destroyed everything. Three forms, each more profound and unfathomable than the last. Breaking through the shackles of the core, the moment there was no longer this layer of shackles obstructing him, immediately the human form of the origin pearl Luo Feng and the universe origin ground's endless gold law ocean completely connected. The gold origin laws immediately descended and appeared in the air above the palace Luo Feng was in. Rumble, endless gold god energy madly gushed in. Some sector lords that had just stepped into the undying level were normal undyings, hence they only needed a little god energy to transform into a god body. And some extremely strong sector lords that stepped into the undying level would require a lot more god energy, however normally they would only form a god body with 100,000 times sector lord strength. And Luo Feng, just with his earth body, his life genetic level exceeded 3,000 times, the moment his earth body was formed, it would exceed 300 million times sector lord strength. This had already exceeded most of the knights, like those with 10 times life genetic level, they would only have 100 million sector lord strength. Rumble, endless gold god energy poured in. A god body with 300 million sector lord strength, the amount of god energy required was extremely shocking. However, even though the Masha clansmen required little god energy, Luo Feng's golden horned beast body had over 600 million sector lord strength, and it was over 1,000 kilometers long in terms of god energy, it was much more than his earth body. This wasn't even the most ridiculous. The most ridiculous was the blood ocean. The blood ocean's diameter was 10 billion kilometers, and its life genetic level was perfect, exceeding 1 billion sector lord strength. And in terms of quantity, it was trillions and trillions of times more than the golden horned beast's clone. A human universe knight's god body required less than a billionth of this blood ocean. The reason the Lord of Nine Hells was able to rely on it to claim to be invincible in the universe, just the Nine Hells ocean alone was comparable to the strongest treasures of the universe. Stepping into the undying level, the god energy infusing one's body usually caused very little commotion. Like True Yen when he stepped into the universe night, the commotion was just that. Luo Feng stepping into the undying level was simply too huge, it was thousands to tens of thousands of times bigger than True Yen stepping into the universe night. After all, in terms of quality, he surpassed a universe knight. In terms of quantity, it was trillions and trillions of times more than a human knight. This was the reason for the blood ocean. What's going on? The gold origin laws have descended. Did someone step into the undying level? But why would there be such a huge commotion? The entire Thousand Treasure River region, a few universe knights and large numbers of undying servants were all shocked as they looked above Luo Feng's palace in the distance. Endless gold light enveloped the entire river. Such power, they had never seen anything like it before in their entire lives. Even when one steps into the universe knight level, he probably doesn't even have 1% of this power. A few of the knights were shocked. And the entire Thousand Treasure River region, the universe knights and undying servants had only seen the surface. Luo Feng, he stepped into the undying level. The Primal Chaos City Leader stood at the peak of the main palace, leaning on the railing as he gazed into the sky. That gold origin laws had already completely enveloped the entire river, the pressure was so strong, it was unbelievable, this had already exceeded the pressure of a universe knight. The other warriors couldn't see the wonders within, however the Primal Chaos City Leader could vaguely see. In the sky above Thousand Treasure River, the universe seemed to be flipping, the endless origin law ocean seemed to be collapsing, the god energy ocean was pouring into space. This was obviously Luo Feng madly absorbing the endless amounts of god energy. The Primal Chaos City Leader was shocked too, he stood there for a while. Within the Thousand Treasure River territory, the universe paragons and undying attendants were all looking up at the boundless golden light in the sky. They were all discussing, clearly very shocked. Endless origin law ocean, god energy filling the body. There's actually such a situation. The Primal Chaos City Leader looked up, shocked within. Even the 108 princes of the 9 underworld lord, when they step into the undying level, there shouldn't be such a huge commotion. The Primal Chaos City Leader's vision was vast, he was very clear that the bigger the size, the lower the density, this was a very common situation. Hence the 90,000 kilometers tall Yuhai, when he turned into an ocean, it was a million km in diameter ocean. Even though a million km diameter ocean was much bigger, the energy of the two were the same, it could only be said that the ocean water's density was lower than Yuhai's flesh and blood. Of course, even though the density was lower, 10 billion kilometers in diameter in terms of god energy, it was still trillions and trillions of times that of a human knight. I've seen a few special life forms step into the undying level. There are even those that are over 10 million kilometers in size, but they've never caused such a huge commotion, they're much weaker. The Primal Chaos City Leader had seen many special life forms step into the undying level, and the bigger the commotion, the more terrifying the power. Don't tell me this Luo Feng is even stronger than the special life forms I've seen before? The Primal Chaos City Leader couldn't believe it, however the universe origin laws descended and formed an unprecedented pressure, proving everything. Luo Feng. He still has a huge secret on him. The Primal Chaos City Leader thought, I'm afraid what he revealed to me before was just the tip of the iceberg. The Primal Chaos City Leader laughed. As long as a life form had intelligence, hiding their trump cards was an instinct. Very good. When Luo Feng steps into the Universe Knight level, the commotion will be even more ridiculous than when he steps into the Universe Lord level. Our human race, I'm afraid an absolute being will soon be born that will shock the trillions of races. The Primal Chaos City Leader nodded. He couldn't guess what Luo Feng had, just from what he knew, like the Yu-Hai clone etc. It wasn't enough to cause such a huge commotion. After all, that Yu-Hai clone was only comparable to the 108 princes. It was normal amongst the special life forms. How could it cause such a huge commotion? Obviously, there was a secret that was hundreds to thousands of times stronger than what Luo Feng revealed himself. This disciple of mine? The Primal Chaos City Leader turned to look at the distant palace Luo Feng was in. His gaze pierced through the walls and saw Luo Feng sitting crossed-legged. Luo Feng's earth body was naturally completely modified. What a strong god energy. The Primal Chaos City Leader smiled. Inside the palace hall, Luo Feng sat crossed-legged, his aura emanating, causing Sky Formation Emperor and Extreme Rainbow Emperor to tremble. Too terrifying, this divine might was even stronger than ordinary universe supremacies. Master He. Sky Array King and Extreme Rainbow King, who were crawling and trembling, looked at each other, unable to conceal their shock. Within the inner world, boundless divine power seawater was like the Milky Way flowing backwards. Boundless seawater came from the void and gushed into the boundless blood sea. For a moment, it was like the end of the world. Roar. Within the endless God Force ocean, the golden horned beast floated in mid-air, raising its head and letting out an excited roar. Haha, this feels great, this feels great. The black-clothed Luo Feng stood on top of the golden horned beast's head, looking at the endless amounts of God energy pouring down from the sky and land. That vast scene was extremely carefree. My earth body, the golden horned beast and the Masha clansmen all completely transformed in an instant. My soul imprint has been infused into every bit of God energy. Every bit of God energy is imprinted with my imprint. This is my God energy. However, this blood sea of mine. Black-clothed Luo Feng looked at the boundless blood sea. It was gradually changing color. The blood sea that was originally formed from the sky was now changing into a normal ocean color. From fresh blood to a thick blood color to a faint blood color. The further it went, the lighter the blood color became. The entire God energy ratio within the blood sea was getting higher and higher, madly transforming. Rumble, the endless God force ocean water and space poured down, covering the land and skies. For a universe knight to recover his God body, the amount of energy required is astronomical, much more expensive than a treasure. Black-clothed Luo Feng muttered softly, my boundless dark ocean is even stronger than a universe knight in terms of quality. In terms of quantity, it's trillions of times more, meaning to say, my boundless dark ocean is even more valuable than trillions of treasures. It's probably comparable to a treasure. Even comparable to a high-level treasure. Black-clothed Luo Feng looked at the boundless dark ocean and smiled. With this boundless dark ocean, how many universe knights can make me retreat? Luo Feng suddenly understood the pride of the 9 Underworld Lord. The 9 Underworld Lord, in the boundless dark ocean. Even the strongest of the universe didn't fear him. Luo Feng in the boundless dark ocean. Not many universe knights could make him retreat. Even though the boundless dark ocean was huge, the universe origin laws ocean was even more heaven-defying. After a while, the entire blood sea was completely transformed, becoming a true God energy ocean. Within the ocean, endless amounts of water were rippling. The seemingly normal water was actually formed from 1 billion sector lords God energy. Its power was limitless. Boundless dark ocean, its diameter is 10 billion kilometers. Black-clothed Luo Feng gazed at the boundless dark ocean. Create. Immediately, within the boundless dark ocean, a 9,000 kilometers tall boundless dark ocean clone walked out from the waves. God energy recovery. The bigger it was, the faster it absorbed the God energy. A 2m tall human compared to a world tree that was over 100 million km tall, the difference in absorption speed was over 100 million times. The logic was simple. How could an ant's eating speed compare to a huge dragon's? One bite from a huge dragon was more than an ant's entire life. The energy required for a mere 9,000 kilometers God body, with the boundless dark ocean that was 10 billion kilometers in diameter, it only took a few minutes to completely recover. Melt, gather. The boundless dark ocean clone immediately melted and became ocean water, mixing with the ocean water from before. Immediately the boundless dark ocean expanded a little. Indeed, just a little. If Luo Feng wasn't the boundless dark ocean, he wouldn't be able to see the changes with just his eyes. Indeed, after stepping into the undying level, the boundless dark ocean can grow even bigger. Black-clothed Luo Feng said softly, however this expansion will depend on the boundless dark ocean itself to slowly absorb the God energy. Its body is too big, even though it absorbs quickly, to expand by 1 meter, it would require a vast amount of God energy. To reach the level of the 9 Underworld Lord, who knows how many years it would take. Luo Feng was glad. If it wasn't for stepping into the undying level, one could completely transform into a God body and receive endless amounts of God energy. Just the 10 billion kilometers diameter God energy ocean alone would require an extremely long period of time to accumulate. Within the palace, Luo Feng, who was sitting crossed-legged, revealed a smile and stood up. Master. Sky Formation Emperor and Extreme Rainbow Emperor said respectfully. You two stay here. Luo Feng instructed, and with a step, he exited the palace. Walking through the palaces in the Thousand Treasure River region, Luo Feng flashed a few times and arrived before the main palace where the Primal Chaos City Leader lived. There were a few undying servants and even universe knights there. What a powerful god aura. This aura. In the distance, the two universe knights were shocked, and the undying servants were even more nervous. What they didn't know was, this aura was only from his earth body. If it was the golden horned beast, especially the boundless dark ocean, the moment it exploded, that would be terrifying. Luo Feng stood outside the palace. Even though the door was open, the inside was filled with endless chaos. One couldn't see clearly with the naked eye. Enter. A voice resounded from within the main palace. Luo Feng entered and very quickly reached the depths of the palace. Looking up, he could see the distant Primal Chaos City Leader. Teacher. Luo Feng bowed respectfully. The Primal Chaos City Leader had a smile on his face. He looked at Luo Feng and examined him for a while. You've stepped into the undying level? The Primal Chaos City Leader spoke after a while. Yes. Luo Feng said. Very good, you've done even better than I expected. The Primal Chaos City Leader nodded satisfactorily. He was extremely satisfied, happy and joyful. Nurturing so many disciples was to give humanity a few more pillars of strength. And Luo Feng had not only reached his expectations, he had greatly surpassed them. I can't even grasp your strength. The Primal Chaos City Leader asked, do you have the confidence to defeat that bug emperor? Luo Feng was stunned for a moment, following which he replied, I have the confidence. He had the confidence. In terms of life force, Luo Feng's golden horned beast was stronger than Bug Emperor. In terms of willpower, consciousness, strength, self-created techniques, treasures, none of them were weaker than Bug Emperor. Some of them even surpassed him. And even if he failed once, Luo Feng could use the endless dark ocean as his foundation, he could still revive endlessly. This sort of undying made Luo Feng truly fearless. Very good, very good. The Primal Chaos City Leader nodded satisfactorily. What do you plan to do now? Search for the location of the God Country and build it. Luo Feng said. The God Country is very important. The Primal Chaos City Leader nodded. The space layer is deep and unfathomable, try to choose a deeper one. Understood. Luo Feng nodded. Go. The Primal Chaos City Leader waved his hand. Luo Feng bowed respectfully and left. At Luo Feng's level, the Primal Chaos City Leader wouldn't interfere. The path after this was completely up to Luo Feng. Through the Servant's God Country transfer, Luo Feng left the Primal region and arrived at the Servant's God Country. Master's master, where are you going now? The servant bowed respectfully. Luo Feng said softly, Star Tower. Yes. The servant replied respectfully, after which he immediately connected to the item within the Star Pagoda. That item was left by Luo Feng in the Star Pagoda back then. There's no rush for the God Country. I'll go in a while. My endless dark ocean in terms of quality, surpasses most of the nights. In terms of quantity it's even more ridiculous. I want to see if I can activate the universe's absolute treasure Star Tower. Luo Feng couldn't help but want to try it out. The Star Pagoda was 9 light years tall, almost as though it covered half the universe. This absolute treasure of the universe had once caused the 4 pinnacle races to massacre it, however in the end not a single warrior was able to bring it away. The treasure was covered in dust. Instead it became the battlefield of the trillions of undyings, who knew how many undyings had fallen within. Within the pagoda, within the core palace. A blurry golden light lit up and Luo Feng walked out from within. Star Pagoda. Luo Feng smiled, he could feel the glee from the Star Pagoda. Go to the sealed space. Luo Feng walked to the side of the palace. A space passage appeared there, directly heading to the sealed space. This Star Pagoda was originally a sealing treasure. The sealed space was its core, it was vast and boundless, the land was black, in the distance there were mountain ranges. So, Luo Feng flew high into the sky, gazing down at the vast land. Endless ocean up here. Luo Feng shouted. Rumble. Almost as though the land and skies were collapsing, all one could see was a vast expanse of water. The endless ocean appeared within the sealed space. One had to know that Yuhai was the same as his earth body, Masha Clansman and Golden Horn Beast. They could all instantly enter and exit the internal world. Of course, once the internal world and the space shards fused to form the God Country, there wouldn't be such a good thing anymore. Having just become an undying, the internal world could still be maintained for a period of time, however it couldn't be delayed for too long. As time went on, the internal world would gradually collapse. 10 billion kilometers in diameter. Luo Feng stood in the vast ocean, stepping on the surface he couldn't help but feel proud. This God energy, it's simply endless. Star Pagoda. Activate. Luo Feng's willpower and consciousness immediately controlled it. Willpower and strength didn't have much to do with willpower, it was mainly due to training and encounters. Strength was only a supplementary effect. And consciousness was closely related to strength. For example, the difference in strength, a sector lord's consciousness pressure could kill a universe level with one stare. This consciousness depended on the strength of the soul. After becoming an undying, consciousness depended on the strength of the God energy. LuoFeng's endless ocean body's God energy exceeded most of the universe nights. Its quantity was even more shocking. His consciousness, too, exceeded most of the nights. It could be said to be the overlord level. Rumble. Streams of water spun and extended in all directions, swiftly seeping into the star tower. Within a short while, his God energy had already assimilated into the entire star tower. At the same time, he could feel the mysterious energy coming from the entire star tower. Even the countless ceiling stars within the star tower and the engravings on the pillars that connected to heaven made Luo Feng feel even more complicated. This is too mysterious. I can't understand it at all. But the feeling of fusing the God power with the star pagoda is truly wonderful. Who cares what those origin laws mean? I'll just rely on brute force. Luo Feng gritted his teeth and roared, "Move!" All of his divine power exploded. Boom. This star tower that was 9 light years tall merely trembled slightly. The tremor was so strong that it could not be detected by the naked eye. This is way too difficult to drive. Standing in the air above the endless dark ocean, Luo Feng was dumbfounded. He felt like an ant trying to push a huge boulder, not moving at all. Divine power ignition. Luo Feng grit his teeth. All the God energy that had been assimilated into the star tower ignited. Its power immediately rose by 1,000 times and the entire star tower began to move. Luo Feng felt like an ant carrying a grain of rice. Even though it was heavy, it was still able to fly. Luo Feng activated it a little and moved it a little before stopping. Stop. Luo Feng swiftly stopped his God energy ignition. My God, in just this short while, the amount of God energy I've ignited is already tens of times that of the over 9,000 kilometers tall ocean clone. Luo Feng was speechless. And even though I can move the star tower, it's merely moving. It's not as easy as activating a treasure. Luo Feng shook his head. Using a weapon should be incomparably easy. To control a spirit weapon, the weapon's movement speed had to be close to light speed. That was normal. Like when Luo Feng used the star map, with a casual throw, large amounts of stars would fly out, their speed as fast as lightning. And activating the star tower in comparison was burning his God energy with all his might. The speed was still too slow and the enemy could instantly dodge and escape. No wonder. Luo Feng said softly. No wonder teacher sitting mountain passenger said that only when I reach the universe night level can I activate the star tower. He passed me the 9 calamity manual. He also knew I had the golden horn beast. He understood that it was very easy for my life genetic level to reach a few thousand times. However, he still thought I needed to reach the universe night level. Luo Feng nodded to himself. Looks like my God energy and origin law comprehension aren't enough. There were 2 ways to activate a spirit weapon. One was to have an extremely high comprehension of the origin laws, then controlling it would be very easy. Using just a little bit of God energy, it would be extremely effective. The other was to have a low comprehension of the origin laws, then one would need 100 or even 1,000 times more God energy to achieve the same effect. To truly activate the star tower, to be able to change its size at will, its speed as fast as lightning, that's true control. Luo Feng shook his head. I'm at the undying level, looks like I don't have the right to use such a treasure. The universe treasure, every one of them was precious. The user, if not the strongest warrior in the universe, would be a universe lord. One of the reasons was that the requirements to activate the star tower were too harsh. Even though Luo Feng was a perfect life genetic level for an undying to truly control the star tower with ease, that was simply wishful thinking. If it wasn't for the endless dark ocean's vast amount of God energy, relying on Luo Feng's other bodies, he wouldn't even be able to control the star tower. After all, the amount of God energy used up in that short period of time was too terrifying. Endless dark ocean return. Luo Feng stood in the air above the endless dark ocean with a thought. So, the endless dark ocean had already returned to his internal world. When I truly activate the star tower, I'll stand at the pinnacle of the universe. Luo Feng stood in the palace and said softly. He was very clear, even though his current strength was very strong, he still didn't have the right to compare with the Primal Chaos City Leader, Sky Wolf Leader and other universe lords. Of course, just relying on his undying body alone was enough to give some universe lords a headache. This was because the myriad star Tao preaching diagram was already an ultimate technique. The first form required 160 stars, the second 520 stars, and the third 1,600 stars. The power of these 1,600 treasures was perfectly stacked together, and the power would increase exponentially. He estimated that the further he went, the more stars he would need. Hence, Luo Feng retrieved a few more ceiling stars from the star tower, increasing the number of stars in the star map to 10,000. I'll go build the God country. Back to the human domain. Luo Feng took a step and entered the blurry golden light. He vanished. Human domain, Ganwu universe country, about 50 million light years away from Earth, in a desolate space, there was no life at all, only a few planets and stars. In this space, Luo Feng teleported and appeared. I'll choose here. Luo Feng said softly, choosing the God country had to be random. Selah. Luo Feng swiped with a single hand, tearing space apart and stepping into the space layer. The space layer could be split into thousands and tens of thousands of levels. The first was the space fragments. The second was the God country level. The third was the space current level. Actually, this was only done by normal undyings. In the eyes of the absolute warriors, the space layer was an incomparably vast level. The closer one was to the actual universe, the smaller the space fragments. The further one was from the actual universe, the larger the space fragments. The deeper one went, the greater the threat. The safest place even sector lords could survive. The deeper one went, the more dangerous it got. There were some places where even universe knights could fall. So, Luo Feng first teleported, directly passing through the God Country level and entering the space current level. Following that, the Wu Killer wings expanded and flew deeper. The God Country level, normal undyings will place their God Countries there. Luo Feng said softly. Like some absolute beings, when they first step into the undying level, their God Countries may be in the God Country level. As their strength increases, they will gradually move their God Countries deeper. Moving deeper into the space current level. The deeper one went, the safer it was. The Wu Killer wings infused with God energy, immediately becoming stronger, becoming a beam of light and flying within the space current. The space fragments are getting bigger and bigger. A space fragment with a diameter of 10 billion kilometers. Luo Feng could only see many huge pieces of space fragments. Some had already formed land and water within, and these huge fragments maintained high speeds as they flew. The moment one was hit, for example by a space fragment with a diameter of 100 billion kilometers, that was equivalent to 100 billion kilometers of land colliding. With such a force, even an Emperor-level undying would be instantly destroyed. Luo Feng continued to fly deeper, occasionally teleporting and passing a huge space fragment. His internal world was a trillion km in diameter. Hence, the space fragment he chose had to be over a trillion km in length and width. 2 days later, the space fragments Luo Feng met all reached a trillion km in diameter, some were even bigger. I have to be careful. Such a huge space fragment, even if a universe knight were to be hit, the force of the impact would instantly destroy him. Luo Feng was careful. One had to know that these huge space fragments were part of the space current. They moved constantly and were extremely fast. If he wasn't careful, he would be hit. Luckily with the Wu Killer wings he was incomparably agile. In such an environment he was like a fish in water, very relaxed. I'll use this space fragment. Luo Feng circled around a space fragment and teleported a short distance. After inspecting it, this was a space fragment with a diameter of 6.2 trillion kilometers and a diameter of 2.1 trillion kilometers. It was enough to completely fuse with his internal world. Build the God Country. Luo Feng's wings expanded. Within the endless universe current, he began to activate his internal world. Immediately, a formless energy burst forth from his inner world, directly locking onto the huge spatial fragment in the distance. A huge world faintly appeared in midair. This world seemed to exist in an illusion, existing in another dimension. It began to gradually fly towards the huge spatial fragment. And the space fragment too flew over. One real and one fake. It gradually closed in. Rumble, the surrounding space trembled. The other space fragments all moved aside. That faintly illusory world gradually fused with the huge space fragment. As it stabilized, the real world began to form. After a while, the originally illusory world completely vanished, leaving behind an incomparably real world. That was the God Country.